Hi, everybody. Welcome to another KE Report webinar. I appreciate everybody for signing up and tuning in. My name is Corey Fleck. I will be hosting this webinar. I am joined by Nick Appleyard. He is the president and CEO of TriStar Gold. TriStar is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol TSG and on the OTCQB under the symbol TSGZF. Now, Nick will be presenting a pretty comprehensive overview of the company. I will be interjecting questions as we move throughout this presentation, and you guys all have the ability to ask questions as well by using the actual questions tab that is built into this system that we are using. If you are having any technical issues or you are unable to ask questions, you can also email me, fleck@kereport.com. I will be monitoring my email and this questions tab for all the questions that come in. I will try to work them in as best I can to the presentation, but we will also spend some time at the tail end of this webinar to make sure we address all those questions. If I happen to miss any of those questions, please email me as well, and I will have Nick back on our show to update the story and get those questions addressed. At any time, as I mentioned, even after this webinar, you can email me, and I will be sure to be monitoring those throughout the weekend and during the week. It's what I do pretty much day after day, as well as producing content for the show. Nick, I'm going to shut off my camera here because I'm working off a couple of screens trying to organize all the questions that come in. I'm going to throw it over to you. Please start us off here, Nick.
Thanks a lot, Corey. Thanks for having me to start with. Yeah, today I would like to take everybody through TriStar and our activity, what we're doing at Castelo de Sonhos and down in Brazil. And I think more importantly, what I'll try and focus on is what we're going to be doing over the next 1, 3, 6 month, 12-month period. So what's coming? I think that's probably the most key investor information we can help people with. So here we go. As I just said, I will be talking about what we plan to do, what we want to achieve, and what we want to do. So there are a lot of forward-looking statements. Please do have a look at the disclaimer. There are things that can happen and impact what happens in the future that might be out of our control and that may not come to pass. So please do look at the disclaimers. So TriStar, what is TriStar? We're a TSX.V listed company. We have a market cap of around about $60 million right now. We're very well funded. I think that's part of the critical part of the story right now. And we have a really nice structure to how we're funded, I believe. We have about a third of the company held by some very good institutions, about a third in retail, and about a third between management directors, friends, and family, so to speak. And then you can look a little deeper into that same analysis and go, okay, those institutions, who are they? The top 3: US Global, Gold 2000, RBC, and Global Asset Management. Really, really good institutions that we're proud to have supporting us, and they haven't just come in and just bought once. They've come in and they've supported us for a while. So we're very happy to have those guys and very proud to have them and be associated with those names. If people are looking for a little bit more, we do have some analyst coverage from Don Blythe at Paradigm. And as you can see, we're trading at around 30 cents a share right now, and 5 million US roughly in the bank, 7 million Canadian. So that's about it.
Nick, is there any update you can give us in terms of institutions? You mentioned that they have been supportive. Have they been increasing their positions, maintaining them? What have some of the changes been?
I think it's fair to say, in general, those 3 have been increasing. I know US Global came in, I believe, in about 2014 and have increased steadily until now. They're just under 20%, probably 18% of the company. I know Gold 2000 internal regs will not allow them to go over 10% on a semi-diluted basis, and they're in the high 9s. So they have as much as they can, and every time they can get more and maintain under that 10%, they do. RBC, again, I think they're about 5%, and they've been supportive for quite a lot, for several years now, since 2016. So they're good, and they've been increasing and been supporting us through multiple levels of financing.
Okay, thank you.
Also noticing, I think, US Global also helped us out with and was supportive in a new corporate video as well. Ralph went on and talked about his engagement with us over the years. So that was quite nice validation for us to receive from such a respected fund. Okay. The other thing on that, we do also try and have a breakdown of, US, Canadian, and European. We would like to have 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. It's probably not quite. It's probably more tipped in favor of Canada right now, but we do aim to try and keep some diversification in the shareholder base as well, and that geographically. That just avoids people all behaving in the same way.
Perfect.
So this is what we are as a company. We have a very strong leadership team. Our management directors all come off of multiple successes. The company was founded by Mark Jones after he sold Brazzaro to Eldorado. Myself and my team, Mo and Scott, we came in after running Chaparral, selling Chaparral to Waterton. Prior to that, being involved in international minerals and selling out to Hochschild Mining out of Peru. So we've all got a history of multiple successes in our past. And we know how this works, and we know what we do. And I think a key part of this for us is we know our strengths and weaknesses. So we know that where our sweet spot is for working, which is going from exploration through the production decision. That's where our strength is as a team here. Okay, the project, the Castle of Dreams, Castelo de Sonhos. We own it completely. We have complete control of the property. What we really like about it is the scale of it. It's a conglomerate hosted gold deposit. We have about 19 kilometers where we internally have identified conglomerates coming to surface, predominantly gold bearing. And this is very similar geologically to Tarkwa in Ghana and to Jacobina in Brazil, run by Yamana. Both of those mines are highly profitable, run by large companies. And it really helps us to sort of jump up the learning curve to sort of gather information that's available from those mines. We've actually hired the ex-chief geologist from Ghana as an advisor to the company and a serious advisor on the site, Dr. Rael Lipson. So we've really benefited from the work and of the advance of those other projects. The other thing that I've really liked about it, attracted me to the project when we came in was, as I said, our sweet spot is developing mines to a production decision. You can't build a mine if you don't have the infrastructure. So this was really nice to see BR 163 going right next to the project. It's a sealed highway. It's a major transportation route. It's also a power corridor. So it's where the major power lines go through. On top of that, you can see from the satellite image on the right-hand side there that this is, it's farming, it's grazing country. It's previously disturbed. It's not pristine environment. So it's environmentally, we're not going to be doing any damage there. But on top of that, environmentally, it's naturally very clean. I have not seen a grain of sulfide on site. Metallurgically, it's very simple and very clean, which makes for a great project that can be built fairly simply. So,
what about staff as well, too, Nick? In terms of infrastructure, the locals in the area, are they mining knowledgeable?
Yeah, they are. The village of Castelo de Sonhos that you can see in the image there is about 15, 20 kilometers away from site. It's around 8,000 to 10,000 people. And they all moved up there in the 90s, I guess, late 80s, 90s, early 2000s, predominantly to go logging, mining, and farming. So they're all primary industry people who are familiar with mining. If they're not a mining person themselves, someone in their family will be. So yes, they're a community that understands the relevance of mining to a community and to the economy. And then at a higher level, the state of Pará definitely recognizes that mining is a major benefit to the state, and it's a major push to attract more mining investment. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So over the last 4 years now, we've actually been in a phase of rapid growth. We've grown sevenfold. We had a resource published in 2014 of under 300,000 ounces. We've grown that by over sevenfold now. And we stopped growing it. We thought we could have done more if we wanted to, but the market wasn't assigning value to inferred ounces. So we stopped and did a PEA, which we published just over a year ago. Absolutely exceptional finances, economics, really, really good. I'll get onto that in the next slide. But what that did is that brought in the attention of Royal Gold, who said, okay, here's a project with all the key factors we need, the infrastructure, environmental, right jurisdiction, and now good economics. So they came in and effectively financed us through this phase we're in now. They $8 million for a 1.5% NSR, which is now allowing us to move into the pre-feasibility study that we're on Esperanza South. Next tab there, a significant upside. What we'd like to focus on here is the fact that we are doing this pre-feasibility study on Esperanza South, which is just one corner of the project. We also have a parallel program doing exploration on the rest of the project to find out how much more is there. So we think that Esperanza South is just the start. That's the starter pit, the starter project for this larger project.
Is that Royal Gold NSR good for the whole project or just select portions of it?
It's the whole project, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So this just shows the resource growth. You know, as I said, in 2014, published under 300,000 ounces, and we've now got that to 1.3 million ounces of inferred and 700,000 ounces of indicated, you know, which is a really nice growth. But after a while, you've got to stop just growing ounces and show that this is not just ounces, it's going to be a mine. So that's why we stopped and did the PEA. And as I said, the numbers are nothing short of exceptional. You know, we produced 1.1 million ounces in the PEA conceptually using $1,250 gold, which is an important thing to look at. I haven't seen the gold price this morning, but I'm presuming it's still over $1,700. But at $1,250 gold, we had a pre-tax IRR of 51%, post-tax 43%, $264 million NPV, and importantly, an all-in sustaining cost of under $700 an ounce. On the right-hand side, you can see some sensitivities. We did try and put these in here so people can see and get a feel for what happens to this project, or the Esperanza South portion of this project, as you start to see these high metal prices that we're seeing these days. But you know, at $1,750, you're well over 600 million NPV and an IRR after tax over 80%. So again, just sort of ridiculously high numbers. But again, I would keep on reminding people that's just on part of the project. That's predominantly just Esperanza South.
These are all US dollar terms,
all
right?
US dollars, yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely. It's a good point that I would like to mention. The other thing as part of the sensitivity, the other thing that has changed a lot in the last year or so is the exchange rate. We ran this study at 3.8 Brazilian reais to $1. I believe that exchange rate is over 5.5 to 1 now. That also has a big impact in our favor in these economics. Quite a very big impact actually. So I think that just keeping $1,250 gold and putting the current exchange rate in, you know, return goes from 43% post-tax to high 50s or 60, somewhere like that. So it has a big impact as well. So as I said, we did the deal with Royal Gold. We got $8 million, and they've asked us to advance Esperanza South to a pre-feasibility study. So we've been doing that now. You can see on this image here that Esperanza South is, you know, it's one of the major limbs of the project on the southern part of the project, but it is only one limb. There's only one part of the project, but we like it because it's a condensed area that will be easy to build a mine, easy to permit a mine, and you know, so okay, well, let's start there, move that forward, de-risk it, show that a mine's going to come in here, show that you get power in the plant, in the dam, everything you need, and the rest of it will evolve in parallel. So what we had to do was drill around 20,000 meters of drilling. We've got the RC portion of that complete. We drilled just over 19,000 meters of RC and stopped a couple of weeks ago. We have 1,500 meters, 2,000 meters of core still to drill. Part of that being geotechnical and work required for the PFS. That will start hopefully in June when we get going again, obviously depending, watching things day by day these days. But yeah, that study is progressing nicely now. It'll be done early next year. It was going to be on schedule for this year, but with the global situation, small delay is inevitable. We're not just drilling and doing the PFS, but we are also doing the environmental work required to move it forward. So we are looking at baseline environmental and community work as well. That is pure de-risking, move that forward, moving the project forward towards production. You know, You need that baseline work. You need to be able to get permits as quick as you can once the PFS is published. So that work is all starting, and we've got expert consultants working on that for us.
What's the overall budget for moving this PFS forward through completion?
In reality, probably around, if we broke out the PFS itself, you're probably talking with all the drilling and assaying and all the consultants, $4.5 million, I guess, something like that.
Okay.
Out of the 8, part of then on top of that's the permitting side, and on top of that's geotech company. So I think that would be a reasonable guess.
Okay, thank you.
So as I mentioned earlier, the idea is that something like a year from now, we will have a PFS out and published. And I see a big part of my job is to make sure people don't think that's the whole project, because it's not. It's just one part of it. So in parallel, we are doing exploration. We, internally, we've identified these, 19 kilometers of conglomerate, most of it, which is at best underexplored, and big chunk of it is completely unexplored. So, we think there's a lot of potential here for along strike drilling at Esperanza East, Esperanza Center, Esperanza West, and the new discovery zone, just to see what can be added to this project to take it up to, to the next scale, if that's what we wanted to do.
Okay, that's important to understand too, is that you would be looking for this exploration to simply add to the current resource. You're not necessarily thinking that there could be other pits or other types of mineralization around the area.
The last question first. Yes, we think there may be types of mineralization in the area, and I will touch on that in a second. The idea as we see it now is that we would publish the PFS on Esperanza South at the scale of the PEA. That won't change unless something very drastic happens. The idea is that in parallel with that, we're going to have exposed the value. So obviously, if something massive comes in, and we might change our plans, but right now it is do the PFS and in parallel do the exploration. And then, then when we've got the PFS, we have the chance of either upscaling it or increasing the mine life, depending on what we found, where we found, how it fits together.
Okay.
So one thing we did last November, I guess, I met the guys from Goldspot Discoveries and was really impressed with their work and what they can do. So in December, we signed an agreement with them to help us with this exploration outside of the PFS. What Goldspot do is I like to try and demystify it a little bit, because machine learning does, it's not well understood by a lot of people. There's no magic to it. They can't magic an ore body that didn't exist before. They can only help us explore more efficiently and faster. So what they in fact do is just take all of our data. You can sort of see the helicopter on the left-hand side there. When we get geophysics, there's multiple bands, multiple layers of data. And there's no way known a human being can analyze that. It has multiple layers. You can look at one image with some very bright colors on it and go, well, there's a bit, but it doesn't really mean a lot. It takes a machine to computer to integrate that with known information on the ground and go, okay, so our geologists go, okay, here we know we've got conglomerate, we know we've got gold in it. Machine learns from that and says, here, the same signature we're seeing in all of these other places. So that's what they do. They just make our work more efficient, and they get more information out of the same data. They might come to us soon and say, get me more data, but right now they're just working with all the old data we do have a lot of data. So what they do is they take it. First of all, you get a nice flat map showing you lithologies, normal geological map everyone's used to seeing. That then gets turned into a 3D map. And then from there, we start to put the targets on, or they start to put their targets on, where they see, okay, these are areas where we see, from what we've learned, from the areas we know, other areas where there should be or could well be gold-bearing horizons. And that's the phase we're at now. They're just starting to generate targets. And then once they start generating, there's a sort of a backwards forwards. They'll send some targets to us and we go, that's machine noise, send some more, or send some others. We go, hey, these ones we already knew about. And then they send some more and you go, hey, these ones are interesting. And that's what all about. It's something that without the machine learning, we couldn't have worked out on our own. But also, what you can see here is they're looking at the surface targets, which is what we sort of mentioned in the previous slide. You asked about a different style of target. That's what we call the deep targets, so underneath the plateau there. So right now they're coming to us with the surface targets. Obviously, you work on the surface before you go underground. In the next few weeks, they're going to be coming through, hopefully, with the deep targets, and that's where we think there could be a different style of mineralization.
Now, when it comes to these targets that they're generating, we had a question already come in that was asking what type of further work needs to get these targets ready to actually put a drill and start drilling.
That's a great question. The ultimate scope we have with Goldspot is that they will supply us with drill targets, but in reality, there's an iterative sort of process. So they have actually already sent us and showed us that they're generating multiple targets. We go through a refining process with that with our own geologists, and we'll go and look at them on site. And it will really depend on what the target is. I mean, we're looking for conglomerate targets. It's the first lot of them coming out. So that in that case, we can see conglomerates on surface. We can test them. We can pan them to see if there's mineralization, or if we think mineralization is going to be just buried, just blind, we can drill them. So yeah, I think in general, the idea is that within a month from now, we will have drill-ready targets from them. What is nice is that as I mentioned earlier, we finished the RC drilling a few weeks ago, and we stood the drillers down. They've left the rig on site, and so when we start up again, we've sort of got the option of keeping that rig going. And it has, we've done that purely because we want to use that RC rig to hit some of these sites. With RC drilling is a lot cheaper than core drilling and a lot quicker. So yeah, we want to get drill-ready targets within the next few weeks. It's just a matter of ground truthing the sites.
Okay. If anybody wants any other information on what Goldspot is doing, Nick and I actually recorded an interview with Dennis Laviolette over at Goldspot that gave a bit more of a comprehensive update of how these groups work together. So that took part at about mid-March. If anybody wants a link to that, check out our website or email me again. I can send that over.
Okay. So this slide shows what we talk about CVS Deeps. You can see where the sort of the red coppered band is. They're the conglomerate targets. So, red showing where the gold is supposed to be in the gold-bearing conglomerates. What we have here is we have unusual situation of younger rocks sitting on, sort of older rocks sitting on top of younger rocks. And where you have that contact, you can get remobilization of gold. And when you get remobilization of gold, you can get reconcentration of gold. So we say it's a different style of mineralization. It's the same mineralization, potentially been reconcentrated again into a narrower, higher grade band. So that's what we call the CVS Deeps target. For us, this is the along strike conglomerate, gold and conglomerate targets are the high probability targets of more of the same type of material. Incremental growth from where we're at with 1.3 million ounces of inferred, push that to 2, 2, 3, wherever it gets to. But it would keep incremental growth of that. This target is more conceptual. We have hit little dikes of granite, and they have had increased grade around them. So we know that the model is sound. So Goldspot are really just working with us to help define that contact between the sediments and the granite, to find where the best place to hit that, where the granite will have cut through gold-bearing conglomerates and remobilized and reconcentrated the gold. But if that target is hit, and if it's true as we think it is, it'll be extensive and it'll be generally flat-lying, and it should be a higher grade underground target. So it will be a different thing, but a quantum jump on the project. You sort of have a multiplying factor on top of where we are now. So that's the big target, low probability, but higher return, the really big target that we like. Because you are talking many kilometers under the plateau. The plateau is about 9-10 kilometers across in places. So we believe that granite has cut through the sediments at least over 2, 3, 4 kilometers.
So Nick, this question is going to be hard to answer, but somebody is obviously looking to see just how big this gold deposit could be. What do you think the upside potential here is? The number that was throwing out was, could this be a 5 million ounce deposit? What insights can you give us?
Well, the interesting thing, I mean, obviously on a 431 we have to be very careful of making projections like that, and we have nothing to base it on. But
yes,
what I like to think of is, we have 1.3 million ounce inferred, 700,000 indicated from drilling 100-meter holes just where it comes to the surface. Our model of this, we understand it very well. It is just one alluvial fan that has just been folded and buried. As you can sort of see here, just folded down the middle like a bowl. It was all one system at one time. So if you think about, you look in that section there, see where Esperanza South is, you're probably talking 8 kilometers across to Esperanza West there. So 100-meter holes is just scratching the surface. So there's a lot of gold in the whole system. I mean, a massive amount. The question is, how much of that is economic is the hard thing to answer. But there, my history as an explorer developer is, if you're in a big system with a lot of gold, you're in the right area. That's where you want to be. You don't try to scratch around and eke every bit of gold out of a weak system that started. This was a big alluvial fan. There are many millions of ounces sitting there. Say the same about the seawater. You can't get it out. There's going to be a lot of this you can't get out, but how much we can get out, I don't know. But it is a big system with a lot of gold.
Perfect. Thank you for addressing that. Let's take another question that actually circles back around to Goldspot. It came in just after we left that slide, asking, is Goldspot using the downhole image data and assay data in any analysis?
Yes, they are, absolutely, because they have to build a model of how the alluvial fan works. So they're doing some very interesting work on having the machine learn from the OTB images. So if we see something interesting in an image, and also from the geochemistry, we're doing a lot of work with that, and then integrating those two together. So the answer is yes, they're doing some fascinating stuff with the OTB imagery. That's going to really help us move forward. It's going to help us understand the stratigraphy in a lot more detail, because they just get so much more information. And importantly, their information becomes very, very consistent, because if they see something, the machine looks at it and goes, okay, in this image, we're seeing we've got gold at this area here. Here's the multi-element geochemistry. We're seeing this signature here, this imagery, and they can then match that up with every other image very quickly, whereas geologists, you get different geologists logging everything, and you get inconsistencies and stuff, and it becomes harder to match stuff up. So yes, they're doing, it's hard to get into it, and it's very clever, and I must admit, over my head, a lot of it, the actual science they do, but they're doing a lot of work with the OTB imagery. It's based on matching up geochemistry, identifying cobbles, cobble directions, cobble size, cobble percentages within and then just the different stratigraphic image information, sediment bedding and stuff like that. You can pull all of that out with machine learning. It becomes a lot more consistent in data. However good your geologists are, you get 2 geologists logging parallel holes, you'll get 3 different opinions on them. It's always a little complicated.
Hey, this is a trend. People are really starting to use this machine learning more and more, and you guys were fairly early on it. So I think a lot of people are excited to see what targets come out of this. Nick, do you want to just keep taking some questions here? Is there any more of the presentation you want to cover?
Absolutely. No, we that's it. The presentation is a nice, concise story. No, we can do some more questions. Absolutely.
All right. One that came in earlier talked about metallurgical work. What stage is this at? Can you give us a little rundown of metallurgical results?
Okay. Yeah. We completed metallurgical testing for the PEA, which we published. Results are on the screen there, the high-level results. Again, you can see it reacts really, really nicely. The phase we're at right now is we've done initial rounds for the PFS on our base case scenario and on our alternative case. We want to run 2 cases, just we always got something to look against. That work has been completed, and now we're doing what I call geometallurgical mapping. We've got a base case, and now we're testing it across the project. to make sure there's no variations that we didn't understand. So it's advancing really nicely. Slight slowdown, obviously, with COVID-19, but not too much to tell the truth. And all of our test work is overseen by a professional metallurgist who's worked with me for more years than I cared to think of. I think I started working with Tony in 1996. And then the test work is done at McClellan's in Nevada. Not because we don't trust the lab anywhere else, it's that allows Tony to travel over and sit there and watch it and hands-on, make sure everything is exactly the way we want it to be for the test work. But yeah, okay. It's beautiful.
Kind of tying into, I guess, the type of deposit, can you discuss the geology of a paleoplacer deposit in terms of is distribution concentrated in these valleys?
The distribution is concentrated in, so it's a sedimentary package. We have sandstone and we have what we call a conglomerate package, which is a package. You've still got sandstone as a conglomerate, then you've got another sandstone on top. Within the conglomerate package, if you can imagine an old, we have just an alluvial fan. What we see at Castelo and we have seen at other projects we looked at on paleoplacers, you seem to get reefs. You get a certain time when there's more gold dumped into the system, and that can be related to where it's being eroded from. Can also be related to ancient sea level changes. When you get ancient sea level changes, you'll get a lateral dispersion of the gold. I think we see a lot of that at Castelo because that gives us this fine grain gold in almost sheet-like situations where there's variation in the grade, but if it was just channelized in an alluvial fan, you would have high concentration and then nothing in the bank. We don't get that. We have fairly consistent gold. If you hit through the right horizon, which is what we call the reef, which is the time zone when the gold was being dropped in the system, you're nearly always going to get something. It might be lower grade, it might be medium grade, it might be good grade, but you'll always get something, and that seems to only happen if you have a lateral dispersion in a nearshore environment. So yes, you really want to think of an alluvial fan with its toes in the water, and you get sea level changes backwards and forwards across that fan, which acts as a sluice and concentrates gold down further beyond the actual dissemination in the fan itself.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Quick question here. What's the deepest drill hole on the property currently?
The deepest hole on the property is one of about 550 meters. It was drilled many years ago. It was right in the middle of the plateau. It just went through sandstone and didn't hit anything, any gold mineralization at all. I think into the conglomerate, I think there's probably a hole around 300 meters. It's probably the deepest where we've actually sort of gone into the side of the conglomerate and hit it. Yes, you would have hit it maybe 180, 200 meters below surface. Predominantly our drilling now is 120 meters. I think during the PFS, the deepest hole is 140 meters. So right now we're just scratching the surface, but that relates directly to the highest margin material. There's no logic in going deep if you can go along strike and take shallow ore.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. But regarding those deep targets that Goldspot is developing, any idea how deep those targets are currently?
That's really the big question. Without their work and the machine learning and doing a lot cleverer work with the geophysics than we can do internally, that's the real question we want from them. Okay, where is it? We've got a good idea of where the conglomerate horizon should be at every point, because you sort of know how rocks fold. What we don't know is where their contact is, so that's what Goldspot are going to be giving us, is where that contact between the granite and the sediments are. Most of the plateau is about 350 meters above the surrounding plains. So I think you'd be looking at something 400 meters from the surface of the plateau, maybe only 150 meters below the site plains from the side. So not too deep as far as underground mines go.
Okay. Now there have been a lot of questions that have come in on the back of this dealing with this same topic. Sorry for waiting to the end, but I think this is a bit of a longer discussion. It deals with Brazil, the community that you are in. Is the community pro-mining? Is the community supportive of this project? Let's start off with the community.
Okay, so the local town is called Castelo de Sonhos. That's where the project got its name from. It's about 20 kilometers from the site. A couple of images there. I think I mentioned it's the people there are transplanted from southern Brazil in the 80s and 90s through social land reform programs within Brazil. They all went for primary businesses, either farming, logging, mining. Effectively, now that the highways come through, there's a lot of heavy equipment workshop people there as well, because there's a lot of trucks bringing soybeans from the south to the ports in the north. Right now, all the people there seem very supportive of us. We have a house in the town there. We have pretty good exposure in the town. Yeah, we keep a moderately low profile now, but we do have programs where we'll either bring people up to the side, or our geologists, when things are quiet, we'll go and teach in the school and help people make sure they're educated as to what the project is, what it is that's just 20 kilometers away from them down the road. But these are, sort of fairly hardy people who are not the sort of people who can worry about having to mine 20 kilometers away. And the thing I always look at, I think everyone there would have someone in their family who has some contact with mining or relationship with mining, so they understand that the economic benefit of mining and the need, and then at a higher level, also the state is very supportive of mining. So as I said, there's just a few views of the town there. It's not a huge town. It's not a super wealthy town. Right now with the soybean trucks going through there, that's a new revenue for them. But this will be the biggest business in town, and we will actually house people just in the town there. We won't have a camp on site. So they're very supportive, yeah.
What about Brazil in general? You mentioned on one of the first slides a couple of the operating mines in Brazil. Mm-hmm. How is it getting permitting, moving through that process of actually getting a mine up and running?
Brazil has historically, over the last 20, 30 years, been very, very, very slow. It's been frustrating, bureaucracy and the lack of drive to actually get things done and move a project forward has been incredibly frustrating. The new president, Bolsonaro, is an interesting character, but he is very much pro-investment, and pro-development. He does want, and he recognizes the benefits of correctly and sustainably developing the assets of Brazil, such as mining in this region. So we have seen an increase in the engagement now with the local authorities, with A&M. Beforehand, we take it very difficult to even get an answer from them. Now, our chief geologist can hop on WhatsApp and ask a question, hey, where are we at with this report? And he gets an answer the same day. And we do see things moving ahead quite well. It's still not overnight, but it's a lot faster than it was. So things have been moving in the right direction as far as moving forward in permitting. Permitting won't happen overnight. It shouldn't happen overnight, because we've got to make sure we're good custodians of the environment in our industry wherever we are in the world. If we're going to build a mine in Canada or in the US or a mine out of Australia, it's going to take you a couple of years to permit it, and it should, because you've got to do that correct work. It's going to be the same story here. We've got to do the right work to show that we're going to be a good custodian of the environment and that we're going to be a good neighbor to the local communities.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for addressing that. A couple more questions that we're going to take care of. One that just came in asked about how aggressive you are planning on being with drilling when work kind of gets back more or less to normal.
We want to get into drilling these exploration targets that are generated now, that we've worked up. The aggressiveness, it's gonna, I think because we're doing this for the first time, we're going to do a little bit of initial testing and sit and see how those results are. But as soon as you get a sniff of something good, I think it become very aggressive. I mean, like I said, a year from now, I don't want to have a PFS launched and so everyone think this is a 130,000 ounce a year producer. If we get a sniff of something good, I want to have a good bit of drilling into it this year to show here's a PFS, that can do this. Plus now you've got this other resources being developed, and the scale of those will be apparent by that time. So the answer is, once we get a sniff of something, we will be chasing it pretty hard.
Okay. This one might be hard to answer, but it does deal with the overall strategy of the company. Because you have such an advanced project and some good economics around it, you are also balancing out this exploration potential. But you even said you are interested, you're a developer or a builder of mines. Is there the opportunity of you just flat out selling this project, or would you like to bring this into production yourself while dealing still with some of these exploration targets? How do you balance this out?
How do you balance it out? How to balance that's pretty simple. You take out what I want, you take out what the board wants, and we do what's best for the shareholders. So if someone comes in and says, hey, we'll pay you X for the whole company, and we go, well, our shareholders can't get a better deal from that, I can't do anything better for them than that, then we would recommend a deal like that. If no one comes along and we're there on our own, we will go through it and we will build it, we will do it if that's what's best for the shareholders. So after having been through this sort of before in Peru and Nevada, the question is never actually as difficult as you think, because you just take out yourself, take out what the board wants, take out what I want. It's whatever's best for the shareholders. So, if it's if someone says, oh, we're going to come and pay you, we're at 30 or pay you 32 cents a share now, and we're going to sit on it, and you guys just get cash, it's like, that's not interesting, I think, to anybody, But if there was something else where the shareholders are going to get massively benefited, and I think they're going to benefit more than anything I can do, we would actually absolutely recommend it.
Okay. Thanks for addressing that. Final question here deals with this Royal Gold transaction. How did this deal come together? And I think someone's just asking a bit more about a company the size of Royal Gold investing $8 million in TriStar. It catches a lot of people's attention. So give us a little bit more information on this.
Yeah, no, it's it's something, I think it's a huge validation for us that someone the size of Royal Gold did look at us and have moved down the pipeline to companies with PEAs on good assets. What I believe, and again, this is my opinion, I don't want to be putting words into Royal Gold's mouth, is that the ability to acquire royalties on quality assets of the right scale is becoming harder and harder. So they have either got a choice of nearer production ones from feasibility or in production, and maybe dropping the quality and bringing other risks, or they can go further down the timeline to PEAs and get in early before someone else does and start to pick at the highest quality project at the PEA level. I believe that's what they've done. They've recognized that the PEA, based on what's there, on only a portion of the project, if you look at the whole project and you start doing some back of the envelope sums, they go, okay, this thing could be material to us in 5 years' time. Once it's in production, it'll be, it could be something really exciting. So, again, I don't want to speak to what they're thinking internally, because I don't specifically know, but that's what I believe to be the case. It's harder to find high quality, where everybody wants it, so they've got to go to high quality further down the food chain.
Okay. Perfect. Well, Nick, I really appreciate you taking time sharing the overview of the company, addressing those questions. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and sending your questions. As I mentioned, if you have any questions that you don't think we got to, or if you have any questions when you listen to the recording of this webinar, please just email me, fleck@kereport.com. I will get those in front of Nick and get them answered for you. Most likely record a interview on the back of that. Hey, everybody, thanks for taking some time on this Friday. I hope you all have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Nick, same goes to you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We are wrapping this up.
Thanks a lot, Corey.